The first glimpse of the wall on the ride home was worse and better than Jon had expected. It reared up out of the horizon, eating sky, blue-white and slick with ancient ice, its face veined with cracks that never quite looked the same twice. From this side, after days of trees and hills and the low, constant menace of the forest, it seemed almost like a promise. Almost. "Feels different," Benjen Stark said quietly, drawing his horse alongside Jon's, leaving it and coming back. "First time, you think it's a prison. Second, it looks like a shield. Third, it looks thin." Jon swallowed. "It held," he said. "Last time. Because nothing pushed," Benjen replied. "Not really. We prodded each other. Measured. The true shove is still coming." Behind them, leather creaked. Men muttered, horses snorted. The Rangers rode in a tighter knot than they had on the way out. They had left 3 brothers on the fist under flame. The spaces they had occupied in the column were ghosts now, full of the memory of voices that would not speak again. Daemon Targaryen rode near the rear, where he could see the whole line. He preferred it there, a general's habit from days when he had commanded more than a couple of dozen half-frozen crows. His gaze moved over the riders, weighing seat and posture, fatigue and resolve. Caraxes circled high enough that the dragon was little more than a suspicion to anyone looking up. Shadow and cloud, nothing more, to men who did not know the shape of those wings. To Daemon, the presence was as tangible as the weight of the sword at his hip. A reassurance and a danger, both. Ghost trotted at the head of the column, white against white. He had a new wariness in him. Before, his curiosity had driven him ahead, sniffing at every odd scent. Now, his head hung lower. His nose tasted the air more often for absences than for smells. As they left the deeper forest and moved into the more open snowfields near the wall, he shook himself as if shedding some clinging cold. "You'll be glad to see the gate," Jon murmured to him. Ghost flicked an ear back, as if in assent. The closer they drew, the more the wall filled the world. Jon had climbed it now more than once. He had stood atop it and stared north, thinking himself brave and very small. Coming back from the fist, he felt smaller still, and bravery seemed less an absence of fear than a refusal to let it turn his horse around. "Welcome home," Daemon said dryly, as the shadow of the wall fell over them. "Such as it is." The tunnel through the wall swallowed the light. One moment Jon rode under a sky the color of old tin. The next he was in a throat of ice and stone, the air colder by a measurable degree. Torches burned along the sides, their flames shivering, unable to push the shadows back far. Jeor Mormont waited halfway down, where the ice was thickest. He stood with his cloak wrapped tight around his shoulders, the black fur rimed with frost. Brothers flanked him, some with spears, others with bows, all watching the returning column with a mixture of relief and calculation. "Lord Commander," Benjen called, swinging down from his saddle as the column slowed. "We brought your fools back. Most of them." Jeor's eyes moved over the riders, counting by instinct. "3, he said, when he reached the end of the line and came up short. "I sent you out with 3 more faces than I see now." Benjen's jaw tightened. "Jory, Harl, Benin," he said. They held. 1 took a white through the chest, 2 were pulled down on the slope. "We burned them, all of them," Jeor grunted. "And the pale bastards?" he asked. Benjen jerked his head toward Jon. "Ask him," he said. "He killed one." The tunnel seemed to hold its breath. Jeor's gaze snapped to Jon. The weight of it was like a physical thing. Men turned their heads. Even the torches felt as if they leaned closer. "You killed one," Jeor repeated. Jon swallowed. "With long claw," he said. "And something else. Heat in the blade. In my hand. It broke its sword. Then it broke." "He's not wrong," Daemon said, stepping forward, leading his horse. "I saw it. Valyrian steel bites. The dragonglass works on the dead. Both together hurt the originals." "A dragon and a bastard," Jeor said. "Old steel and new fire." He snorted. 7 hells. His gaze flicked briefly to Daemon, to the dusting of frost on the man's hair and beard, to the way he held himself. Tired but not bowed. "And you?" he asked. "What do you call what you did up there, Prince? Strategy? Suicide? Experiment?" Daemon said. "Successful, since we are all standing here to talk about it." "You're standing here because my men kept your hide between the snow and the others," Jeor said roughly. "But you brought them back. I'll hold my curses until I've heard the full tale." He turned, gesturing toward the inner gate. "Get the horses to the stables," he barked. "Get the men to heat and food that doesn't taste like it's been chewed twice. We'll talk in my solar." His gaze flicked back to Jon. "And you," he added, "bring the sword." The solar had never felt so small. Maps sprawled across the table, some weighted with knives, others with stones. Lines had been drawn and redrawn in charcoal. Paths ridden, patrol routes, sightings of wildlings. The fist of the first men encircled in a heavy, blunt ring. Between the maps lay the obsidian, arrowheads in neat rows, their edges dull black in the firelight. Daggers, a handful of spearheads. Each piece represented a chance, a sliver of advantage in a game where the opponent cared nothing for victory, only for eventual certainty. Jeor Mormont planted his hands on the table. "Again," he said, "from the beginning, slowly. I'm too old for the half of a story." Benjen obliged, terse and clear. He spoke of the ride north, of the empty wildling camp and the strange lack of tracks, of the sudden crushing cold, of the first glimpse of the watchers in the trees, of the cache on the fist, the horn and the dragonglass, the sense of being on ground that remembered old fear. "Then they came," he said, "testing. A few dozen whites, 1-2 others. They walked through our fire like it was mist, broke our shafts in the air. Glass works on the corpses. Valyrian steel works on them." His hand flicked toward Longclaw, lying unsheathed on the map. The dark blade gleamed, ripples catching the light. Frost still stained it, faint and stubborn, in hairfine tracings no cloth could fully erase. "Jon pushed," Daemon said, picking up where Benjen's words left off. "Because I told him to, because there was no one else with the right steel in the right place. He shattered one of their swords, drove the point home. It died." "Died," Jeor repeated. "As much as anything that unnatural dies," Daemon said. "It broke, melted, lost cohesion. The whites around it faltered. That tells us something. That they're not gods," Samwell Tarly blurted, then flushed as heads turned toward him. "Sorry, my lord, sir. That's what it sounds like. They can be undone, like anything else, if you have the right tools." Aemon's blind eyes crinkled. "Do not apologize, Samwell," he murmured. "You see clearly." Jeor grunted. "So." He ran a thick finger along the line from the wall to the fist. "We know they're closer than stories say they should be. We know they use dead men as armor and muscle. We know dragonglass and Valyrian steel can cut where steel fails. Fire," Daemon reminded him. "Don't forget fire. It may not end the Pale Ones, but it slows them, confuses their puppets, turns your own dead into ash instead of fresh recruits." "Fire, glass, old steel, and a dragon," Jeor said. "And on their side, numbers, patience, and cold. I like their hand better than ours." "Then change the game," Daemon said. "Don't wait for them to dictate every move." Jeor shot him a look. "You advise we take the fight to them?" he asked. "With what? 24 tired men and a beast that makes half my garrison piss themselves when it screams." "With this," Daemon said. He tapped the table. The obsidian clicked under his finger. "And this," he added, tapping Longclaw, "and whatever courage you can scrape together from your brother's bones. You will not win this with numbers. You will win it with knowledge, with choices, with making the right men stand in the right places, holding the right blades when it matters." "And ravens," Aemon said softly. Jeor rolled his eyes. "Yes, yes, and letters," he said. "I'll tell the world the dead are walking and dragons are flying, and see how many of them rush to my aid with soldiers and soup. You will write to Lord Eddard Stark, Aemon said, ignoring his tone. And perhaps to Stannis Baratheon at Dragonstone. He listens to omens, that one. To the Red Priests. They speak of a coming darkness. Red Priests, Jeor muttered. I have enough trouble with my own gods, blind or burning. We can't hold this alone, Benjen said quietly. Not forever. Not if they keep learning. Jeor looked at him, then at Jon, then at Daemon. You ride back from the edge of the world with dead men's dust on your boots and dragonfire in your hair, he said. You tell me the old tales are true and worse. And your first advice is that I ask for help from kings who barely remember this wall exists. What would you have him do? Daemon asked mildly. Pretend it isn't happening? It didn't work the last time. Jeor snorted. I'd have him grow me another 100 men, he said. But barring that, Ravens. North first. Maybe Dragonstone. Winterfell has already answered. The others, he shrugged. We'll see. He jabbed a finger at Longclaw. And you, he said to Jon, you keep that thing close. You and your wolf and your old man's dragon. You may be the most expensive piece of steel I've ever had under my command. Jon felt heat rise under his skin. Yes, my lord commander, he said. Daemon's mouth twitched. Careful, he murmured. Praise from men like him is rarer than dragon's teeth. The rookery smelled of bird shit, ink, and old straw. It was not a pleasant smell, but it was a familiar one, and familiarity could be its own comfort. Ravens muttered and shifted on their perches, black eyes gleaming in the dim. A small fire burned in a side hearth, more to keep ink from freezing than for any human comfort. Maester Aemon sat close to that little fire. His hands rested on his knees, fingers worrying the links of his chain. His blind eyes turned toward the warmth as if he could see it. The years sat heavy on him tonight. Daemon stood in the doorway's shadow. He had shed his heavier cloak, leaving him in black leathers and the simple wool of a man who intended to move rather than sit. The light caught the edge of his profile, picking out the old scars, the line of his jaw. Jeor will write, Aemon said. He grumbles, but he knows the weight of what you brought him. Letters are kindling, Daemon said. Useful only if they start a fire in the right minds. Otherwise, they're just ink and ash. You underestimate ink, Aemon murmured. It has undone more kings than swords have. He reached out, fingers brushing the table until they found the obsidian dagger and the rolled parchment. This one, he said, tapping the letter, goes to Winterfell, to Ned Stark. He will read it in full. He will send men and grain and blades where he can. He has already done so. Daemon inclined his head slightly. And the others? He asked. King's Landing? Dragonstone? The Eyrie? Aemon's mouth pursed. King's Landing would laugh, he said. Or rage. Or both. Robert Baratheon does not want to hear that the dragons he killed were not the only danger the world faces. Cersei Lannister would see threat where there is plea. She is clever enough to turn fear to her own ends. No, not them. Not yet. And Dragonstone? Daemon prodded. Stannis Baratheon is a man who believes the world should align with his sense of justice, Aemon said. He will not take kindly to news that the world ignores him more than it does others, but he listens to red priests, and they listen to flames. If we send word of dragons and darkness, they may hear. Daemon snorted softly. I have little patience for priests who think they can herd fire, he said. But if it makes a king move, I will suffer their songs. Aemon's fingers slid to the obsidian dagger. You knew this would work, he said. The glass. I suspected, Daemon corrected. I had heard tales. I had seen other things cut by other stones in other places. Cold power tends to shy from volcanic glass. But suspecting is not knowing. You need blood for that. We have it, Aemon said. Too much of it. He turned his blind gaze toward Daemon. You spoke of a horn, he said, in your account of the cache. Daemon's jaw tightened. A thing best left buried, he said. It hummed when I touched it. Not like a blade, like a door. I do not like doors I did not build myself. The old tales speak of horns that woke giants and brought down walls, Aemon murmured. Horns that called dragons to heel. Horns that shattered the peace of the world. Exactly, Daemon said. I have enough trouble with dragons that already exist. I have no desire to coax sleeping ones from the bone of the world. Aemon smiled faintly. Yet you woke me, he said, and Jon, and the girl across the sea. I didn't wake her, Daemon said. The fire did. I only listened. And now, Aemon asked, what do you do with what you have heard? Daemon looked at the dagger. At the wall, he said. I make sure the boy survives long enough to stand where he must. South, I do not know. I cannot be in two places at once, much as I have tried. Then perhaps it is time you were not the only Targaryen moving pieces, Aemon said. You hold Jon's path in one hand, in the other, send a piece of truth to the girl. Let her decide what to do with it. Daemon bared his teeth in something that was not quite a smile. You invite civil war in a house that is already ash, he said. Bold, for a maester. I am old, Aemon replied. Boldness is all I have left. Daemon considered. Very well, he said. Send your letters. To Winterfell, to Dragonstone, and one somewhere east. To a trading city full of fools who think walls of stone keep out everything that matters. Aemon inclined his head. I will, he said. And Maester, Daemon added, turning away. If your priests and your kings start to talk of princes and saviors, remind them of this. Ice and fire are not titles. They are forces. They will use anyone who lets them. The boy is not a sword forged for some god's hand. He is a man. I would keep him that way as long as I can. Aemon's thin lips curved. You sound almost protective, he said. Daemon's laugh was low and humorless. I am tired, he said, of seeing princes burn because old men liked the shape of them in stories. The library was warmer than most of Castle Black, but only barely. Cold seeped in under the door and through the stone, nibbling at toes and fingers. The single lantern on the table hissed softly, its glass chimney fogging in the chill. The smell of old parchment and dust overlay the ever-present tang of smoke. Jon traced a line of cramped script with one finger. The book was older than the wall, or so Sam claimed. Its pages were brittle, edges browned. The ink had faded to a gray that strained the eyes. And when the sun hit its face and the stars wept, the shadows walked. Jon read quietly. Men cried out to the old gods and the children both, but the cold would not be turned aside, save by fire and blood and stone blacker than any river. Dragonglass, Sam said, not looking up from his scroll. Obsidian. They just didn't call it that yet. Jon nodded. The rest of it is more story, he said. Kings with names no one remembers. Heroes with burning swords. Wolves that speak. Bits of something about a horn that woke giants in the earth. Sam's fingers shook slightly as he unrolled the next section of his scroll. When the white shadows came, he read aloud, squinting. The children gave the first men gifts, blades that drank the cold, horns that woke the sleeping stone to stand against the tide, runes to bind the dark at the world's edge. Jon thought of the cache on the fist, the neat stacks of obsidian, the horn in its leather wrap, the way Daemon had flinched, almost imperceptibly, when he touched it. We found the blades, Jon said, and the horn. Whatever the runes were, they've faded, or were never there in the way men think, Sam said. Runes don't have to be scraped in stone. They can be patterns, choices, the way you build something, the way you stand. He flushed, or so the more speculative texts say. Jon leaned back, rubbing at his eyes. His hand throbbed faintly, the scar in his palm itching under the bandage. When he flexed his fingers, he could almost feel Longclaw in his grip, the way it had met the other's blade and broken it. There's nothing in there about dragons, he said. Not ones flown by men, anyway. Only shadows with wings. Dragons came later, Sam said. After the long night, after the first war, the children have their own magic. The first men had bronze and obsidian. Valyria had fire and steel. We've stitched bits together and forgotten who made which thread. Jon smiled faintly. You sound like Maester Aemon, he said. Sam ducked his head. I just read what's there, he said. If there were a clear, neat answer. Take this sword, blow this horn, stand on this hill, and the others will go away. Someone would have written it down. Jon thought of Daemon. If there were a neat answer, he said, Daemon Targaryen would be bored by it. Sam huffed a laugh. He does seem. He searched for a word, used to complications. Jon's gaze dropped back to the page. So we have glass, steel, fire, and stubbornness, he summarized. And they have cold, patience, and numbers. And whatever made them in the first place, Sam said softly. Jon frowned. You think someone made them? Everything has a beginning, Sam said. Even the dark. Jon thought of the White Walker's eyes, burning blue as stars. He thought of the way it had moved, precise and curious, and the way its sword had shattered under Longclaw. If something made them, he said, maybe something can unmake them. Sam nodded. Maybe, he said, or maybe the best we can do is hold, slow them, give someone else a chance. Like Daenerys Targaryen, Jon said, surprising himself with the ease of the name. Sam looked up sharply. You think she's real? He asked. Not just Viserys boasting. She has dragons, Jon said. Demons saw her in the fire, a girl with 3 hatchlings, somewhere east. Sam swallowed. Dragons, he repeated, half wonder, half fear. And you and an old prince and a wall of ice. Sounds like the beginning of a song. I've never liked songs, Jon said. They leave out everything that hurts. Sam's smile was crooked. Maybe this time we write one that doesn't, he said. Qarth's nights were cooler than its days, but to Daenerys they still felt heavy. The air was thick with the scent of unfamiliar flowers and the faint tang of the sea. Lamps turned the city's pale walls to gold. Gems and glass glittered in doorways and on wrists. It was a different sort of heat from the red waste, decadent instead of cruel. On the balcony of her borrowed palace, Daenerys Targaryen stared north. She could not see the wall, of course. Not from here, not across half a world. But she felt the tug of the word in the letter in her hands. An old man with hair like tarnished silver, she read aloud, fingers tightening on the parchment. A dragon red as rust that screamed over the ice, and a boy in black with a great white wolf at his side who struck down a pale demon with a sword black as shadow. The red priestess behind her made a soft sound of interest. Wolves and dragons, the woman murmured. Fiery steel and cold shadows. The flames were not lying. Daenerys did not turn. Your flames tell you much, she said. They do not tell you everything. They tell me there is more than one who might be the prince that was promised, the priestess said. The ruby at her throat pulsed faintly. You with your hatchlings and your will. Another in the cold north with old blood and a newer sword. And an old dragon between you, playing at both fire and ice. Drogon hissed. He crouched on the stone rail, wings half spread, nostrils flaring as he tasted the night. When the wind shifted, he snapped at it, teeth closing on nothing. Daemon Targaryen, Dany said quietly. My brother told me his name in half a dozen stories. The rogue prince, the king that never was, dead above a lake with a dragon in his arms. Now he rides again in the far north and claims a boy in black as his heir while I scavenge ships from men who would cage me. The bitterness surprised her even as she spoke. The priestess stepped closer, the fabric of her robes whispering on the stone. Fire does not move in straight lines, she said. It curls, it licks, it finds paths around stone. Perhaps this is your path. Not alone but entangled. 3 heads, Khaleesi. 3. Daenerys thought of Viserys, all noise and no substance, dead with molten gold on his head. She thought of Drogo, his body empty on the pyre she had walked into. She thought of the baby she had lost, of dreams of an impregnable line that had crumbled before it began. 3 heads, she echoed, not 3 kings. A king is a word, the priestess said. Light is a fact. The darkness does not care what you call yourself when you stand before it. Daenerys looked down at the letter again. A dragon over a wall of ice, a boy with a wolf, an old man whose name her blood recognized. If he lives, she said slowly, he stole something that belonged to us. To me, our house, our fire. Or he kept it safe for you, the priestess suggested, until you were ready to claim it. Dany's mouth quirked. Are you saying your god sent an old rogue to hold a dragon for me? She asked. That seems untidy for a deity. Lawler does not tidy, the woman said. He burns. And what is left? Men call order. Drogon crawled along the rail toward Dany, pushing his wedge-shaped head against her arm. She lifted her hand, fingers sinking into warm scales. Tell me what you see, she said to the priestess. In your flames, in the letter, in the space between them. I see a choice, the woman said. Several. Is yours, the boys, the world's. I see a night that will not end unless the right ones are made. Daenerys looked north again. Then we will stop playing at queens in foreign gardens, she said. We will go where the world is being cut. And if this old prince has something of ours, he will have to answer for it. King's Landing was a long way from the wall in more ways than miles. The air in the small council chamber was warm and close, thick with the smell of wine, sweat, and the faint tang of the sea that crept in despite the keep's thick walls. Torches burned in iron brackets, their light dancing over velvet and gold and the tired, lined faces of men who had worn crowns and chains too long. Robert Baratheon slumped in his chair at the head of the table. His once broad shoulders had softened with wine and years. His beard was shot through with gray, his eyes bloodshot. He cradled a heavy mug as if it were the only thing keeping him upright. Again, he said thickly. Read it again. Slowly, Pycelle. My head's not what it was. Grand Maester Pycelle adjusted his chain with a little rattle, then smoothed the parchment in his trembling hands. To his grace, Robert of House Baratheon, he intoned. By the grace of God's King of the Undulls and the First Men, Lord of the 7 Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm, from Lord Commander Jeor Mormont of the Night's Watch, sworn brother and warden of the Wall. Get to the meat, Robert growled. I don't need my own bloody titles read to me. Pycelle cleared his throat. Your Grace, he continued, I write to inform you that the tales told to frighten children are no tales. The dead walk beyond the wall. Not wights of wildling making, but corpses that rise if not burned and creatures of ice with eyes like blue fire who command them. We have slain one such with Valyrian steel. Obsidian bites the rest. Fire delays them. I have witnesses and burnt bodies to prove it. He paused, swallowing. Furthermore, he read on, an old man of Valyrian blood has come to our wall with a dragon long believed lost to history. He has ridden it in our defense. We have seen it with our own eyes. It burns the dead. I beg your grace to recall that while summer lingers in your south, winter stands always at our door. We will stand as long as we can. We ask only that you see past your wars and feasts long enough to recall that what happens here will one day happen there if we fail. Signed, Jeor Mormont, Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Silence followed the last word. It stretched, uncomfortable, thick. Littlefinger broke it first. Well, he said lightly, that is certainly a more creative request for funds than most of the ones I receive. Varys smiled, the expression not quite reaching his eyes. Creativity is in fashion, it seems, he said. First tales out of the east of a girl with dragons, now tales from the far north of an old man with one. One might think the world were trying to tell us something. Robert snorted. The world is always trying to tell us I should drink less, he said. I've yet to listen to that. He sloshed his mug. Dead men walking, pale demons, dragons flapping about like overgrown pigeons. We've had 20 years of peace and the wall's gone soft. The old bear is bored. Wants to remind us he exists. Pycelle nodded eagerly. Old men in the cold, your grace, he said. They see shadows and call them ghosts. The night's watch has dwindled. They crave importance. And the dragon? Varys asked softly. The old man of Valyrian blood? Robert's jaw clenched. If there is a dragon, he said, I'll kill it. Again. With a hammer if I have to climb that bloody wall myself. You didn't kill the last ones, Littlefinger remarked mildly. Targaryen babes and their mother did the burning and dying. You did the aftermath. Cersei, lounging in her chair with a cup of wine, watched the exchange with hooded eyes. You will do nothing, she said to Robert. If you go blundering north on a fool's errand, who will sit the throne? Your brothers? Your bastards? The wolves would rise. The lions would bleed. All on the strength of a letter from a man in black who has not set foot in the South in decades. Robert glared at her, then at the parchment. It's nonsense, he said, as much to convince himself as the room. If it's not, it's someone else's problem. The walls, the Starks. That's why they wear fur and scowl at everyone. Varys' fingers steepled. Yet, he said almost to himself, if even 1/10 of it is true, my king, the realm should know. Or at least, someone in it should. Robert waved a meaty hand. Send it to Ned, he said. He likes snow. Let him worry about it. Tell Mormont he has my... What is it? Gratitude. He smirked. And that if he sees this old dragon rider, he should tell him I'll be waiting in the south with my hammer if he ever gets bored of the cold. Pycelle bowed his head. As you command, your grace, he said. Varys' eyes lingered on the letter as it lay on the table. He was already wondering whether a copy of it might find its way across the narrow sea, to a girl with silver hair and 3 hungry hatchlings. The top of the wall was a different world at night. The wind was a constant presence, knifing along the ice, picking at cloaks and hair. The stars hung closer here, hard and bright, strewn in such profusion that they seemed almost to crowd one another for space. The world below, the yard, the keep, the scattered camps, was a scatter of tiny, fragile lights. Caraxes crouched like a mountain of rusted metal. His wings were folded tight, the membrane creaking softly now and then as the cold tightened it. Frost had gathered along the edges of his scales. When he shifted, it fell in little showers of glittering dust. His good eye glowed faintly, slit pupil tracking movement far below. Benjen pulled his cloak tighter. I'll never get used to that, he said, nodding toward the dragon. You'd think after everything we've seen, one more impossible thing would be just another ice flow in the river. It isn't. You get used to the weight, Daemon said, not the shape. He rested his hands on the parapet. From up here, the forest was a dark smear. In the distance, faint green curtains of aurora rippled, ghost light dancing on the horizon. Somewhere beyond that, he knew, an army of dead was shifting, adjusting, learning. We can't hold them forever, Benjen said quietly, even with glass and steel and your friend. No, Daemon agreed, but we can bleed them. Turn their patience against them. Make this wall cost them more than they planned. Benjen snorted. You talk about them like generals, he said. They are generals, Daemon replied. Old ones, wiser than the squabbling pups that call themselves kings in the south. They test and prod. They risk little. They remember their last failure and mean not to repeat it. And us? Benjen asked. Do we remember ours? Daemon's mouth twisted. Some of us do, he said. Most don't. That's why they can try again. He glanced back at Caraxes. The dragon's breath steamed, trailing in long, slow plumes. In the starlight, his scars were silver lines across dark red scales. You could leave, Benjen said suddenly. You and your dragon. Fly south. Find the girl with her hatchlings. Take the fight away from here. I could, Daemon said. And leave a wall without fire at its back? No, I am tired of abandoning fronts just because another looks more dramatic. Benjen looked down at his gloved hands. What if he dies? He said. Jon, what if we pin our hopes on him and the others take him anyway? Then what does your house do, old man? Daemon's jaw clenched. Then we burn the world until we find something else that works, he said. And I add another name to the list of people I have failed. Benjen's laugh was harsh. You're not afraid to confess to big ambitions, he said. It isn't ambition, Daemon said. It's stubbornness. Ambition wants thrones. Stubbornness wants the world not to end on someone else's terms. They stood in silence for a while. The wind howled. Somewhere below, a horn sounded, signaling a watch change. Car axes rumbled, the sound low and distant. What will you do? Benjen asked at last. When the ravens come back with no answers, when Winterfell sends what it can and Dragonstone sends prayers, and the rest of the realm sends nothing at all. Daemon looked north. Then we do what men have always done, he said. We fight with what we have where we stand until someone breaks, them or us. My only promise is that it won't be for lack of trying. Far beyond the wall, where the land rose into broken teeth of rock and ice, the dead gathered. The sky here was a constant pall of cloud, the sun a memory. The wind did not howl so much as murmur, a low, ceaseless susurration that slipped into the gaps of armor and bone. Snow fell in fine, dry grains, more like sand than anything soft, hissing against every surface. At the plain's center, the altar stood. It was not built for men. No craftsman's hand had shaped its angles. No chisel had bitten its facets. It had grown once, accreted crystal by crystal, until it loomed waist-high to a giant and shoulder-high to the pale figures that ringed it. Veins of deeper blue ran through it, pulsing faintly like frozen lightning. The walkers stood unmoving. Each had its own scars. One bore a jagged line down its face, as if something had once tried to claw its eyes out. Another had an arm that glinted oddly, its surface more like polished stone than ice. The one at the center, taller, carried the memory of a wound in its chest, a spiderweb of dark lines beneath the armor, cracking and knitting in slow, patient pulses. If they spoke, it was not in words men would recognize. Thought moved between them like the shift of currents under ice. Impressions, patterns, the feel of dragonfire on ancient flesh, the stab of Valyrian steel, the shiver in the fabric of the world when a horn buried in a hill was touched and then left be. The leader, if such a word could be applied, lifted a hand. Whites stirred at the edge of the circle. They were not the shambling, scattered things that had climbed the fist. These were more ordered. They stood in rough ranks. Some carried spears crusted with rime, others axes, others nothing but their hands. Among them loomed shapes larger than men. Frost giants with ice-crusted beards, their eyes the same cold blue. The walkers' attention shifted. South. They felt the wall as a pressure. A line where the world's fabric had been reinforced once. The strengthenings had frayed, but not vanished. Still pushed back. Still sang its own old song. The altars remembered that song. They remembered the binding that had woven men, children, and ice together in a pact that had broken long ago. They remembered the taste of betrayal when the pact had been forgotten. They remembered hunger. The taller walker lowered its hand. The dead stilled again. Not yet. They had learned. Last time, they had come in force too quickly, hungry for the end they saw waiting. This time they would wait, test, break small pieces and watch how the cracks spread. The old prince had not been in their last accounting, nor had the boy, nor the wolves, the girl with her hatchlings, the men who wrote letters in towers of stone. Ice did not get angry, it adapted. Snow hissed around them. The faint, blue pulse in the altar quickened, just a little, as if some deep part of the world were waking, grumbling at being disturbed. The walkers did not turn away. They had nowhere else to be. They had all the time in the world. The wall before dawn felt like the edge of the world. Jon stood with his hands on the cold stone, fingers burning where skin touched frost. His breath steamed in slow, even plumes. The sky to the east held the faintest hint of light, a paler gray smudging the deeper dark. To the north, the auroras danced, pale green veils rippling soundlessly above the distant forest. Ghost sat beside him. The direwolf's fur glowed faintly in the half-light, his eyes embers in his white face. He watched the horizon with the same intensity Jon did, ears twitching now and then at some sound too faint for human ears. "You smell them?" Jon asked. Ghost's lip curled, just a little. The wall hummed under Jon's boots. He could feel it now that he knew how to listen. Not with ears, but with something deeper. A vibration in the stone, in the ice, like a low, constant note held by a weary singer. It had always been there. He had simply been too full of other noises to hear it. Behind him, voices murmured. Daemon and Maester Aemon stood some distance away, two dark shapes against the pale ice. Their heads were bent together. Occasionally, a gesture flickered, a hand cutting the air, a cane tapping. Jon caught fragments when the wind carried them. "Not a sword for gods," Daemon said. "A man. Do not forget that." "You cannot stand for him forever," Aemon replied. "Even dragons tire." Jon looked north again. He thought of Ned's letter, heavy against his chest. Of Daemon's confession in the narrow corridor, the name he had carried like a secret wound. Of the look in Benjen's eyes on the fist when he had spoken of Lyanna. "I am Jon Snow," he said quietly to the darkness. "I am a brother of the Night's Watch. I am the sword in the darkness. I am more than that, whether I like it or not." The words did not echo. They vanished into the cold, absorbed by the ice. "Stupid place to talk to yourself," a voice muttered behind him. Jon turned. Samwell Tarly stood a few paces away, wrapped in 3 cloaks, nose red, eyes bleary with lack of sleep and too much reading. "I'm not talking to myself," Jon said. "I'm talking to the wall." "That's worse," Sam said. "The wall doesn't listen. It just hums and falls on people when it feels like it." Jon huffed a laugh. They stood together for a moment watching the north. "Maester Aemon says the ravens are away," Sam said. "To Winterfell, Dragonstone, even one to Bravos," he hinted. "To people who might listen." "Good," Jon said. "And Daemon," Sam hesitated. "He asked me about horns. In the old books, said to mark any mention. He doesn't like them, I think." "Neither do I," Jon said. "We have enough trouble with what's awake already." They fell silent. Far below, Castle Black creaked and muttered as men changed watches, as fires were coaxed back to life, as the daily work of survival began again. Up here, the world felt reduced to sky, ice, and the line where the two met the dark. "Do you ever wish you'd gone south instead?" Sam asked suddenly. "With your father, with Robb, to battles with names and banners. Instead of this." Jon thought of Cersei Lannister in her silks, of Robert in his cups. He thought of fields turned to mud under horse hooves, of boys dying with their houses on their lips. "No," he said. "I think, even there, I would have ended up here, one way or another." Sam nodded. "I think so too," he said. "Some people belong on walls." Jon glanced at him. "And you?" he asked. Sam smiled weakly. "I belong in libraries," he said. "But the wall stole me anyway." Jon looked north one more time. The auroras rippled. The forest was a black line. Somewhere beyond it, an older line was being drawn, between life and death, fire and ice, kings and the things that did not care for crowns. "I'll hold," he said under his breath, "as long as I can." Ghost pressed against his leg. Behind him, Daemon's voice drifted on the wind, low and resolute. "As long as it takes," the old prince said. The day crept over the horizon, thin and cold. The wall sang its weary note, and far to the north winter listened and learned. The wind clawed at Dragonstone. It came off the narrow sea in ragged gusts, flinging salt against the castle's black walls, making the carved stone dragons seem to writhe. Thunder grumbled over the island like an old god with indigestion. Inside the war room, Stannis Baratheon stood as if nothing outside mattered. The painted table stretched before him, the 7 kingdoms rendered in wood and pigment. His brother's crowned stag, the Lion of Lannister, the Kraken, the direwolf, all the pretty devices men killed each other over. Tonight, his attention was fixed on a scrap of parchment that had been laid atop the north. "Read it again," he said. Davos Seaworth cleared his throat. He held the letter carefully. Jeor Mormont's blunt script, Aemon's finer hand threading between the lines. "The dead walk beyond the wall," Davos read. "Corpses that rise if not burned, and pale creatures with eyes like blue fire who command them. Obsidian and Valyrian steel can slay them. Fire delays them. A dragon has come to our aid, ridden by an old man of Valyrian blood. We have burned and buried our dead and hold, for now. The realm will not believe this threat until it stands at their gates. I ask that you, at least, recall that if the wall falls, no king's crown will keep the dead from his throat." He swallowed, glancing up. "There is more, your grace," he said. "Details, names, Jon Snow, Daemon, Waters they call him, but that is the heart of it." "Daemon Targaryen," Melisandre said softly from the shadows. He walked still. "Fire is stubborn when it has work left." Stannis' mouth flattened. "Daemon Targaryen died above the god's eye," he said. "Old songs and bad histories say so." "Old songs are wrong as often as they are right," Melisandre replied. "He rides a dragon above a wall of ice. I have seen him in the flames. Him and the boy, wolf and dragon together." Stannis looked back to the letter. "I am king," he said, "by right. By law. My enemies squabble over chairs and skirts in King's Landing while the true danger massed at their doorstep. Of course the world waits until I am hemmed in by debt and indifference to send me this." Davos shifted. "With respect, your grace," he said. "If half of what they say is true, it's not just their doorstep, it's yours." Stannis' jaw worked. "I know what it is," he said. "I know what the Night's Watch is meant to be. The first line, the last. They beg for men, for food, for steel." He spat the next word. "For dragons, none of which I have enough of for my own war." "The Lord of Light will provide," Melisandre murmured. "Lawler will not bake bread," Stannis snapped. "Nor will he fill my armories with dragonglass." "Dragonstone sits on a mountain of such glass," Melisandre said. "Your ancestors carved their toys and ornaments from it. The black stone under your feet is rich with it still. The fire has shown me blades of glass and men in black cloaks. This place was placed in your hands for a reason, your grace." Davos's gaze dropped to the map. "The watch needs dragonglass," he said slowly. "We have dragonglass. We cannot spare men, but we could spare stone." Stannis stared at the painted north. "Ned Stark believed in things," he said at last. "Not me, not my claim, but the wall. His letters to my brother, to Jon Arryn, they spoke more of snow than of thrones." He exhaled sharply. "Very well, Davos, you will see to it. Half the fools on this rock are craftsmen carving pretty trinkets for tourists. They can carve spearheads instead, daggers, arrowheads. We will send a ship north when the seas allow it." Davos blinked. "You mean it, your grace?" he asked. "Truly, I am not a man for jests," Stannis said. Melisandre's lips curved. "The wall will remember who scented steel that bites the dark," she said. "The fires grow clearer." Stannis shot her a hard look. "And what do your fires say of this Daemon Targaryen?" he demanded. "Is he a rival? A tool? A sign?" "He is a shadow of old Valyria," Melisandre said. "A flame that refused to die when it should have. Useful if he remembers his place. Dangerous if he does not. The prince that was promised." Her eyes glowed in the lamplight. "Is not him," she finished. "Nor you, but you have your part to play, King Stannis. The wall must not fall before its time." Stannis snorted. "I will not have my part written for me by gods or ghosts," he said. But I will not be the king who ignored the north and let the world freeze while he counted coppers. He jabbed a finger at the map. Write to Mormont, he told Davos. Tell him Stannis Baratheon hears him. Tell him I'll send what glass I can spare, and that if his dragon and his boy hold long enough, I may come myself. Davos bowed his head. Aye, your grace, he said. Melisandre watched the king over the flicker of the candles, eyes reflecting their light like coals. 2 flames, she murmured. 1 in snow, 1 in sand. When they meet, the world will change. Drogon shrieked somewhere far across the sea, and on the wall, a dragon old as sins turned his head north. Castle Black had never been orderly, but now it hummed with a new kind of purpose. Men moved faster. Shouts were sharper. There was less idle talk, less lounging in doorways with cups of thin ale. Fear had done what a century of Lord's Commander had not. It had made the Night's Watch efficient. Leather tighter, Daemon said, taking the half-finished arrow from the brother's hands. This isn't a feather bauble on your hood. If the glass rattles when it hits, it will crack. You want it biting when it lands, not kissing. He wound the strip himself, fingers quick despite the cold. The obsidian arrowhead gleamed, its edges catching the light with a predator's interest. See, he said, handing it back. 3 raps. Knotted here. If your fingers are too numb, get someone else to do it. Better their knots than your corpse. The brothers around him muttered assent, some hiding their unease behind curses, others accepting the instruction without comment. Rangers and stewards both crowded close. The old lines between the watch's branches had blurred under the weight of the more urgent division between breathing and not. Jon watched Daemon's hands as carefully as he had watched his sword work. The old man's fingers were sure, economical. No wasted motion. Whether he handled glass or steel or leather, he treated all of it as serious work, with none of the casual contempt Jon had seen in some knights who thought craft beneath them. You ever do this in Valyria? PYP asked nervously, holding up his own arrow for critique. You lot weren't all dragons and crowns, were you? Someone had to patch your small clothes. Valyria was full of craftsmen, Daemon said. Most of them used their skills to make golden chamber pots for men who thought flying a dragon made them clever. That didn't end well for anyone. He took PYP's arrow, tugged the leather. Better, he said. Would you trust your life to it? PYP swallowed. Maybe, he said. Then fix it until you would, Daemon said, handing it back. Sam stepped forward awkwardly, a bundle of thin spear's hafts in his arms. We've run through most of the good arrow shafts, he said. But I found these, old practice spears, half-rotten at the tips. We could cut them down, mount the larger heads. Good, Daemon said. Do it. A glass spear in the hands of a man who knows where to stab is worth 10 of Ser Aliser's lectures. He raised his voice slightly. Listen, he called. You don't just fling this stuff at whatever blue eyes you see. Glass for the dead puppets when you're at distance. Save it for the pale ones if you can. Steel and fire for the whites first. Glass for the masters when they come close enough. And if they don't? A ranger asked. If they just stand out of range and send their dead at us in waves? Then we make those waves cost them, Daemon said. They may be cold, but they're not stupid. They don't burn bodies for fun. They hoard. If you kill their tools faster than they can make more, they will adjust. Jon frowned. To what? He asked. Daemon smiled, tired and thin. To something we haven't thought of, he said. Which is why we keep thinking. Glass and steel and fire are not enough. You, Samwell Tarly, will keep reading. You lot will keep practicing. And Jon Snow, he nodded toward the yard, will stop staring and go break someone's guard before the sun goes down. Jon blinked. Yes, sir, he said automatically. Daemon's mouth twitched. I told you, he said. Don't call me sir. If you must call me anything in front of them, call me what they do. Old man, or fool. It's closer to the truth. Yes, old man, PYP muttered under his breath, earning a cuff from Gren and a ghost of a smile from Daemon. Ghost's ears flicked. He watched the obsidian pass from hand to hand, red eyes unblinking. When Jon bent to scratch him behind the ear, the direwolf pressed his head briefly against Jon's hip, then returned his gaze to the blades, as if he, too, understood their importance. Snow fell in fine, steady flakes, softening the edges of the training yard. It dusted the dummies, the scarred posts, the racks of practice swords. It caught in Jon's hair as he moved through the sequence Daemon had drilled into him. Step, parry, strike, twist, stab. Only this time, the weight in his hand was different. The dragonglass dagger was lighter than steel, more brittle but faster. Shorter reach, he told the line of boys and men watching. You won't be trading sword strokes with them. You'll be closing. In tight. Aim for the neck if you can, the eye if you must, the heart if you have room. Don't hack. Stab. Pull out. Move. He demonstrated, driving the blade into the straw and wood dummy's chest with a quick thrust and an immediate retreat. When he yanked the dagger free, it left a long, splintered gash. You hesitate, he said. You die. That's if they don't kill you first, Ser Alliser Thorne said. His voice cut across the yard, dry as old bone. The recruits stiffened instinctively, shoulders hunching. Jon turned, the dagger still in his hand. Ser Alliser, he said. Thorne stalked closer, black cloak flaring. His eyes flicked to the dragonglass, then to Daemon, lounging against a pillar as if the whole scene bored him. We're an interesting sight these days, Thorne said. Bastards teaching cowards how to poke things with rock. Old men with stories playing at being princes. Dragons in the sky. Truly, the Night's Watch has entered a glorious age. Jon's fingers tightened on the dagger. He heard Daemon shift slightly behind him, but the old man said nothing. We're doing what Lord Commander Mormont ordered, Jon said evenly. Learning how to use what we have. Dragonglass works. You saw Jaefer's corpse. You saw. I saw boys who haven't earned their spurs yet clutching at toys they don't understand, Thorne snapped. I saw an old fool ride a monster over the heads of men who were already half mad with fear. I saw you, Snow, strutting like a hero because you got lucky in a fight you barely walked away from. Jon felt heat rise in his chest. It wasn't luck, he said. Thorne stepped closer, blade of his voice sharpening. You think you're special because your sword didn't break, he said, because a White Walker bled in front of you. You think that makes you something more than the rest of us who've stood against wildlings and worse for years without a dragon to swoop in and save our arses. My sword didn't break because it's Valyrian, Jon said, because it remembers fire, and because the old man taught me how to use it. That matters. You could learn from him too. A murmur ran through the watching brothers. Thorne's face went very still. You presume much, Lord Snow, he said softly. Are you so eager to forget where you came from? Bastards usually know better than to bite the hand that gives them scraps. Daemon pushed off the pillar. Enough, he said. His voice was not loud, but it cut through the yard as surely as any shout. Thorne's gaze flicked to him. You've had your fun, Thorne said. Playing at wars again, teaching tricks, making boys think they'll live forever if they just move their feet like you say. But this is my yard. Yes, Daemon said. And your yard produced boys who would have died without those tricks. You trained them to swing hard. I trained them to swing smart. They will need both. Thorne's jaw flexed. You undermine authority that keeps this rabble together, he said. You and your tales and your dragon. You make them forget they're nothing. That we're all nothing up here but black cloaks thrown on a frozen corpse. Daemon studied him for a moment. You're afraid, he said. Thorne bared his teeth. I'm angry, he said. Afraid, Daemon repeated calmly. And you do what frightened men do. You kick down. At boys. At bastards. At anyone who might show the others there's a way to stand that isn't yours. The recruits went very still. Snowflakes drifted between the men like tiny, indifferent witnesses. Thorne took a step toward Daemon. You think because you rode a dragon once or twice that you know this wall better than I do, he said. You don't. You're just another lordling who thinks he's owed the world bending because of his blood. I think, Daemon said, that this wall has seen too many men who let their pride decide which blades they picked up. And I think if you care more for the shape of your authority than for whether these men live long enough to stand their watch, you should ask yourself which side of it you're truly on. Thorne's hand twitched toward his sword. Daemon's eyes narrowed. Don't, he said. The word was soft, but something in it, the weight of old duels, old deaths, made several of the onlookers flinch. I have no wish to spill brothers' blood on this snow. Daemon went on. The dead are eager enough to do that for us. Take your authority, Ser Alicer. Use it to make these men harder to kill, or stay out of the way of those who are trying to do the same. Thorne's mouth worked. For a moment Jon thought he would draw anyway, pride trumping sense. Then the master-at-arms spat once in the snow. Enjoy your fame while it lasts, Snow, he said. The wall has a way of grinding down heroes. And you, old man, remember there are things up here that have been here longer than dragons. They don't bow easily. He turned on his heel and strode away. Daemon watched him go, then looked at Jon. You see, he murmured. He's not entirely wrong. Heroes die. You don't have to be one. You just have to be alive when the world needs you. Jon exhaled slowly. He looked down at the dragonglass dagger in his hand. I'll settle for both, he said. Daemon's smile was brief and thin. Stubborn, he said. Good. The room was barely large enough for the table. It had once been a cell, Jon thought, or a storage closet. Someone had dragged in a pair of mismatched chairs and a crooked shelf, turning it into a place where one could almost pretend at privacy. A stub of candle guttered on the table between them. Its light threw long shadows up the rough stone walls. Jon turned the letter over in his hands. He had read it a dozen times now. The parchment was soft at the edges from his fingers. Ned Stark's handwriting, spare and sure, looked the same as it had on quiet days in Winterfell when Jon had watched him sign orders and replies to distant lords. Will you read it aloud? Daemon asked. Jon looked up, wary. Why? He said. Because it weighs on you, Daemon said. And because the man who wrote it shaped more of you than you know. If I'm going to pull you between oaths and blood, I should at least know what ground he gave you to stand on. Jon hesitated. Then, slowly, he unfolded the letter. They say the dead walk beyond your wall, he read. They say dragons fly. I do not know yet what I believe. I know only this. I am proud of you. Whatever name you wear, whatever cloak you take upon yourself, you are my blood. Lioness, do not let honor be a stone around your neck. Let it be the ground beneath your feet. His voice caught for a heartbeat on Lioness' name. Daemon's eyes never left his face. The wall is not your jail, Jon finished. It is your vantage. From there, see clearly. If men like Mormont and Aemon tell you the world changes, believe them before you believe kings. Guard the living. If that duty ever comes against your vows, remember which you swore first, to those who cannot stand where you stand. He let the parchment fall to the table. For a moment, the only sound was the candle's soft hiss. Honor as ground, not chain, Daemon said. Wise, for a man who walked himself into so many chains. You knew him, Jon said. It wasn't quite a question. I knew what men like him become, Daemon replied. Honorable, stubborn, prone to choosing the least bad of two evils and wearing the guilt like a cloak. I saw him once at court when he was young, quiet, watching. Wolves always watch before they bite. Jon's fingers tightened. And Lyanna? He asked quietly. Daemon's expression changed. Softer, sharper. I never met her, he said. I saw her face only in paintings, in tapestries. Stark features with a wildness that reminded me of a girl I once followed into a war I should have steered her away from. His mouth twitched. Rhaenyra, you would have liked her, or hated her, or both. Jon swallowed. And Rhaegar? He asked. You keep saying your uncle, as if you knew him better than songs do. I watched him, Daemon said, through other eyes, through wine and whispers and fire. He was too gentle to be what the world needed him to be. Too convinced prophecy would bend if he sang to it sweetly enough. He looked at Jon. "He loved your mother," he said simply. In his way, foolishly, destructively. He loved his songs too, and his visions of saving the realm. He never quite understood that saving anything requires more than sacrifice. It requires choosing who bleeds. Jon's throat felt tight. He chose her, he said, over his wife, over his children, over the whole realm that burned after. "Yes," Daemon said. "And your father, your other father, chose to hide you, to lie, to bear the hatred for a sin he did not commit, because he knew what Robert would do with a Targaryen child, bastard or not." Jon stared at the letter. "My whole life," he said slowly. "I thought I was the sin, the shame. Now I'm a secret, a choice, a mistake, a consequence," Daemon said. "Not a mistake. The world is full of mistakes. Few of them last long enough to ask what they're meant to do." He leaned forward. "Listen to me, Jon Snow, Jon Targaryen, if you like," he said. "I am not asking you to abandon your honor, or your watch, or your love for the man who raised you. I am asking you to accept that when the dead come for this wall in earnest, none of the words in that letter will matter as much as what you do with that sword and that wolf and the blood in your veins." Jon's hand fell to Longclaw's hilt. "Aemon says there are many who might be this prince that was promised," he said bitterly. "The girl in the east, me, you, Stannis, half the world, depending on who's reading which line of prophecy. I don't want to be anyone's promised prince." "Good," Daemon said. "Prophecy is a chain, however pretty its links. Let others shackle themselves to it. You and the girl, if she has sense, must learn to use it or ignore it as suits the living." Jon looked up sharply. "The girl," he said. "Daenerys, the last Targaryen's last daughter," Daemon said. "You a hidden son, 2 embers. The world will try to make of you a single flame. It may be right, it may not. That is not the world's choice to make alone." He reached for the jug, poured a measure of thin wine into Jon's cup. "You asked me once why I live," he said. "Why I didn't die with my wars. This is why. To see if this time, when my house plays its part in saving or breaking the world, it can do the former without calling it the latter." Jon raised the cup. He did not drink right away. "Then stop calling me heir as if I were a sword you pulled off a wall," he said quietly. "Tell me what you need me to be, and ask." Daemon studied him for a long heartbeat. "I need you to be yourself," he said. "Wolf and dragon both. Stubborn enough to stand where others fall. Clever enough to know when to step aside. I ask that when the time comes and the world tries to put a crown on your head or your skull on a spike, you remember Ned Stark's words and choose the ground over the chain." Jon exhaled. "I can try," he said. "Good," Daemon murmured. "That's more than most kings ever did." Outside, the wall groaned softly in the cold. Inside, 2 men, old fire and new, sat in the cramped cell and plotted how to live through a story that wanted them dead. Winterfell's hall felt smaller, too, not because its walls had moved, but because the world beyond them had shifted closer. "We have word from Dragonstone," Maester Luwin said, adjusting his maester's chain. "Lord Stannis has replied to Lord Commander Mormont." He tapped the second letter, its seal already broken. "He believes," Ned said. It was not really a question. "He says he cannot spare men," Luwin replied, "but he can spare stone. Dragonglass. Dragonstone has it in abundance, as the tales say. He will send it north by ship, when the seas allow." Robb Stark's eyes were bright in the firelight. "Then the Watch will have more of the one thing that bites these things," he said. "It's something." "It is," Ned agreed. Catelyn stared into her wine. "So the dead walk," she said. "Dragons fly. Old songs come crawling out of the dark, and we are meant to simply accept it." "Accepting it and liking it are not the same," Ned said. "But we do not get to choose what is true, Cat. Only what we do about it." Robb's hand tightened on his cup. "We should ride," he said. Send men. Our men. If the wall falls. If the wall falls, Ned said quietly. 50 or 500 men from Winterfell will not make the difference you think. Not yet. Jeor needs stone and food and time. We can give him those without emptying the north of its strength. Robb bristled. Strength that sits and waits isn't strength, he said. It is, Ned replied. If it is there when the world's madness spills south. The North cannot afford to throw itself into every storm that gathers beyond its borders. Catelyn lifted her head. And Jon? She asked. The name hung in the air like a challenge. Ned met her gaze. He stands on that wall with a sword in his hand and a wolf at his heel, he said. He killed one of them, the pale ones, a white walker. Jeor's letter says so. Robb stared. Jon? He said, incredulous and proud all at once. Truly, truly, Ned said. Catelyn's fingers tightened on her cup until her knuckles whitened. And the old man, she said. Daemon Targaryen, the dragon. Ned exhaled. He rides at Jon's side, he said. For now, he teaches, fights, claims. His jaw clenched. Claims Jon as heir in more ways than one. Robb's brows knit. Jon doesn't want a crown, he said. He wanted the watch. That's all he ever spoke of. Wanting and having are different, Ned said. He didn't want to be the son of a prince and my sister either. That didn't stop the world from making it so. Catelyn's eyes shone. And what of our children? She demanded. Robb, Sansa, Arya, Bran, Rickon, where do they stand? If this Targaryen ghost and your sister's bastard decide to play at kings while the dead knock. Ned was silent for a long moment. They stand where I put them, he said at last. In the north, guarding their people. Whatever crowns are tossed about, Winterfell's duty remains the same. Only the danger has grown a new face. Robb's jaw set. I'll guard them, he said. Guard them all. Ned looked at his son. He saw the boy he had taught to ride and shoot, the man he was becoming, the wolf who might yet have to choose between banners and graves. You may have to guard more than that, he said quietly. If Jon lives, if the dragon girl in the east does, if Stannis sends his dragonglass and the wall holds. This realm may need more than one king, or none. Robb frowned. None? He echoed. A council, Luwin suggested. A pact, north and south, ice and fire. If the old stories repeat, they will not do so cleanly. We may need new answers to old questions. Catelyn laughed once, bitter. Men can barely agree on whose chair is taller, she said. Now you speak of pacts. Men in summer, Ned said. Winter makes different men. He reached out, laying his hand over the letters. The watch is not alone, he said. The North will not let it fall without a fight. Dragonstone will send its glass. Perhaps others will do more than laugh. But whatever comes, we remember this. The dead do not care about our names, only whether we stand or run. Robb nodded slowly. Then we stand, he said. The fire spoke louder that night. Melisandre fed it carefully. Oils from far eastern markets, shavings of strange woods, a pinch of something chalky that smoked violet as it burned. The brazier's heat drove the chill from the stone chamber, sweat beading on her brow. Show me, she murmured in Valyrian. Show me the swords you have chosen. Show me the flames you would not let die. The fire answered. At first it was only color orange, red, a hint of blue at the core. Then shapes formed in the dancing tongues. A wall of ice loomed, flame painting it in shifting highlights. Above it, a dragon screamed, long neck twisting, wings beating the air into submission. On its back, a man, older, scarred, silver hair whipped by the wind, leaned forward, sword raised. Daemon Targaryen. The flames shifted. Now Jon stood in them, long claw in his hand, ghost at his side. The White Walker's blade met his in a spray of sparks that were not sparks, but fragments of something more ancient. When the pale sword shattered and the other fell, the fire roared as if in approval. Melisandre smiled, teeth white in the hot glow. Good, she murmured. You learn. The image dissolved. Daenerys emerged next, striding through Drogo's pyre as if through mist, dragons clinging to her shoulders. Her hair burned away, her skin unmarked. The fire around her seemed both to caress and recoil, recognizing something familiar and something new. 3 heads, Melisandre whispered. Old, young, and younger. Rogue, wolf, and queen. The visions overlapped. For a heartbeat, all 3 stood together. Daemon on his dragon, Jon with his sword and wolf, Daenerys with her hatchlings. Behind them, the wall and the red waste and Dragonstone's jagged rocks formed a single, impossible landscape. Then the flames licked higher, devouring the images. Melisandre lowered her arms. 2 flames the Lord of Light favors, she said, more to the fire than to any listening ears. Maybe 3. Stannis will not like that. She turned toward the door, where Davos lingered uncertainly, summoned by her earlier message. You were watching, she said. Davos shifted his weight. I hear things, he said. You and your fires. I don't always like what I hear. You do not need to like the truth, Melisandre said. You only need to act on it. The wall must be fed glass and fire. The girl in the east must be allowed to burn. The boy in the north must be allowed to stand, not thrown aside for the comfort of kings. And Stannis, Davos asked, where does he stand in your picture? Melisandre's smile was enigmatic. He stands where he always has, she said, on a rock between storm and sea, trying to hold both back. He will have his part. As will you, Onion Knight. Davos snorted softly. I'm no knight, he said. You are what you do, Melisandre replied. Not what men call you. The fire popped, sending a spray of sparks upward. For an instant, in their light, Davos thought he saw eyes in the flames. Blue and red, ice and coal, watching each other across a gulf he could not measure. He shivered, though the room was very hot. The stink hit them before the sight. Smoke, sour and thick, pig filth, old stew, sweat. Under it all, something sourer. Fear and the bitter tang of too many tears swallowed down for lack of any place to spill them. Craster's keep crouched at the edge of the haunted forest like a guilty secret. Its walls were rough logs, chinked poorly. The roof sagged under the weight of snow. A crude palisade ringed the yard, more to keep pigs in than enemies out. The main hall's door was a warped plank, its hinges rusted. This is a bad idea, Jon muttered under his breath. Bad ideas are what we have left, Benjen said. We need eyes beyond the wall that aren't dead. Crasters have always been for sale, for a price. And the price now? Daemon asked quietly. Benjen's mouth twisted. Wine, steel. Looking the other way when he does the things we don't talk about, he said. And now, perhaps, news of what walks in the dark. Craster himself stood in the doorway as they approached. He was thick through the chest, the bulk of his younger years sagging into something softer. His beard was a tangle of gray and yellow, caked with frost and food. His eyes were small and mean above a nose that looked as if it had been broken more than once. Benjen Stark, he grunted. Crow, you bring more crows, more mouths, more eyes. We bring gifts, Benjen said. And questions. Craster spat into the snow. Crows always have those, he said. Questions. No answers. Come in, then, before your balls freeze off. They stepped inside. The hall was low and smoky. A central fire pit smoldered, more smoke than flame. Women moved around it, their faces cautious and closed, eyes dropping when any ranger looked their way. The air was thick with the smell of stew and unwashed bodies. Jon's jaw tightened. He had heard enough of Craster to know what these women were to him. Wives and daughters, the line blurred until it made his stomach twist. Daemon's gaze flicked over them, taking in bruises, the hunch of shoulders, the way the girls flinched when Craster's hand twitched. This is a mistake, he murmured to Benjen. Your honor will not sit easy here. It never does, Benjen replied. But the Watch needs what he knows. Craster flopped down on a rough bench, gesturing with a greasy hand toward another. "Sit," he said. "Drink. Say what you came to say. Then go away." Benjen remained standing. "You've seen things," he said, "moving in the woods. In the night, men with blue eyes, dead things walking. Have you not?" Craster's tongue flicked over his lips. "I've seen crows come begging," he said. "I've seen white shadows in the trees. I've heard ice crack in ways it shouldn't. Seen my pigs spook at nothing. The woods are full of strange. Always have been." Daemon stepped forward. "These are not old stranges," he said. "They are new. Or old ones come round again. They kill your neighbors. They move your snow. They take your sons." The hall seemed to tighten at that. One of the women made a small sound, quickly swallowed. Craster's eyes flashed. "What I do with my sons is my business," he growled. "Not the crows. Not the old man's who smells of fire. The cold takes what it takes. I've lived by that bargain longer than most of you have been sucking air." Jon's hand twitched toward Longclaw's hilt. "You give them your children," he said, disgust threading his voice. "Your blood. To monsters." Craster's gaze swung to him. "You crows took vows," he said, "to give up everything. Cocks, names, sons you might have had. You're no better than me. At least I live to see the sun rise and set on what's mine." Daemon watched the exchange with narrowed eyes. "You think they'll honor your bargain when they have enough of what they want?" he asked softly. "You think ice cares for you more than fire cares for me? You are a tool. They will use you until you break. Then they will walk over your bones." Craster spat again. "Fire talks too much," he said. "Ice just takes. I know where I stand with taking." "Where?" Jon demanded. "On which side of the wall? Men or monsters?" Craster's hand shot out faster than his bulk would have suggested possible. He seized Jon's cloak, yanking him close, sour breath hot on Jon's face. "I stand on the side that lives," he snarled. "You want to die on a wall of ice for men who wouldn't piss on you if you were a flame crow? That's your choice. I'll keep my halls and my pigs and my daughters. And the cold will keep taking what it's owed." Benjen's hand landed on Craster's wrist. "Enough," he said. "Let him go." For a moment, Jon thought Craster would refuse. Then the wildling barked a laugh and shoved him back. "You want to know what I've seen?" he said. "There are more of them, pale ones, walking further south than they used to. They look this way. Sometimes they smile. And the cold that comes after them. Even the stars go quiet." Daemon's eyes darkened. "Thank you," he said. Craster sneered. "Don't thank me," he said. "I didn't say it to help you. Go back to your wall. Build your fires. Sharpen your rocks. When the cold comes, we'll see who they eat first." Snow muffled sound outside the keep. The wind had dropped with the sun, leaving a stillness that felt wrong. The sky was a low, bruised purple. Smoke from Craster's fire crawled upward in a reluctant column. Jon stood near the lean-to that passed for a stable, ghost pressed against his leg. The women moved quietly in the yard. They carried water, tended pigs, stoked the fire. They did not look at the rangers if they could help it. Their faces were masks carved by long habit. Jon's jaw clenched as he watched two of them lead a small bundle across the yard. Not a bundle. A boy. He could not have been more than a few days old. Swaddled in rough cloth, his face barely visible. He did not cry. The women carried him as if their arms weighed 100 pounds each. They walked toward the trees. "Don't," Daemon said. Jon started. He hadn't heard the old man approach. "You were about to move," Daemon said quietly. "Hand to your sword. Feet to the snow." "They're giving him to them," Jon said, voice low and furious. "To the others. To be turned into one of those things. We can't just stand here." "Can't we?" Daemon asked. "Watch." The women reached the treeline. They hesitated for a heartbeat, then laid the child on a drift just inside the first row of trees. One whispered something, words too faint for Jon to catch. Prayer. An apology. Curse. They turned and walked back, shoulders hunched, faces blank. The snow around the bundle lay smooth. Then it did not. A shape stepped out from between the trees. Tall, pale. Its eyes were blue even in the failing light. It moved with that same terrible grace Jon had seen on the fist. Frost curled from its limbs, whispering across the snow. Ghost growled, low and deadly. Jon's hand was on Longclaw before he knew he'd moved. Daemon's fingers closed over his wrist. "Don't," he said again. "Not now. Not like this. We could stop it," Jon snapped. "We could." "Kill one," Daemon said. "Perhaps. With your sword. With my glass. And then what when the rest come? When Craster closes his doors and blames the crows, and the next son is taken while we limp back to a wall that can't yet afford the war you'd start." Jon's teeth ground together. "So we do nothing," he said. "We watch a child be carried into the dark and we stand. We remember," Daemon said. "We learn. We add it to the list of debts the dead owe us. And when we are ready to call those debts in, we make sure the cost is more than a single boy's life." Jon looked back at the treeline. The White Walker had reached the bundle. It looked down with a tilt of its head, as if examining a curious insect. Its long, clawed fingers reached out, hovering just above the child's face. Frost smoked, curling around the tiny form. Jon's stomach lurched. He had faced one of these things in battle. He had driven his sword into its chest, watched it crumble. This was worse. It was slower, personal, a corruption rather than a blow. He felt Ghost tremble. "Remember," Daemon repeated softly, "not for vengeance, for strategy, for knowing how they think. They take bargains. They use tools. Craster believes he is using them. He's wrong. We won't be." "And the boy?" Jon asked. Daemon's jaw tightened. "The boy is a casualty of a war his grandfather started," he said. "As you are, as I am. We cannot save him. Not today." The Walker lifted the child, cradled him almost gently, in arms that smoked with cold. Snow swirled around them. For a heartbeat, Jon thought he saw something flicker across the creature's face. Curiosity? Anticipation? Then the trees swallowed them both, and the yard was empty again. Jon's hand shook on Longclaw's hilt. "I hate this," he said. "Good," Daemon replied. "If you ever stop hating it, you will be useless to me." The raven from Dragonstone came first. Its message was simple, almost to the point of rudeness, but Jeor Mormont found he preferred that to flowery courtesies. "Stannis Baratheon believes us," he grunted, waving the parchment. "Says he cannot spare men, but he will send dragonglass when he can. Says he has more of it than sense." "Then he has something useful," Daemon said. "For the first time in his life." Jeor's mouth twitched very briefly. "Winterfell says much the same as before," he went on. "Men where they can. Food where they can. Stark words about standing. I've had worse." He tossed Ned's latest reply onto the table with the others. "And this," he said, picking up the last letter, "came from across the sea. The hand is Bravosi. The content, less clear." Sam peered nervously. "What does it say, my lord?" he asked. Jeor squinted, his lips moving as he read. "To the men who stand at the end of the world," he quoted. "Know that your fires are seen in places where stone thrusts from the sea and in cities where men wear masks of gold. The dragon girl has heard of the dragon man. The banks have heard of the dead men. When the time comes, ships may sail for more than coin." He snorted. "Cryptic nonsense," he said. "But it means some fool in Bravos believes enough to send words, at least." "Ships," Daemon said. "From Bravos. For men. Or for dragons. Or for debts," Jeor said. "The Iron Bank doesn't move without an accounting." Benjen crossed his arms. "Whatever else it is," he said. "It's proof that your dragon's shadow stretches far, old man. And that Jon's little dance on the fist is being sung in places that never saw snow." Jon shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't dance," he muttered. "I nearly died." "Those are the best dances," Daemon said dryly. Jeor slapped the letters down on the table hard enough to rattle the inkpot. "Listen," he said. "We have the North. We have Dragonstone. We have some nameless bastard in Bravos who likes the sound of his own quill. We have one dragon, a handful of glass, one Valyrian blade, and more stubborn bastards than food to feed them." He looked up, meeting each of their gazes in turn. "I am too old to believe in prophecies," he said. "I believe in walls, in men, in steel. But I am not so old I can't learn that sometimes the stories your wet nurse tells you are just warnings that took a long time to be heard." Sam swallowed. "What do we do?" he asked. "We hold," Jeor said. "We train. We send more small parties north, not great ranging columns to be swallowed. We learn everything we can about how these things move and think. We stock the wall with glass instead of pretty trinkets. And we make damn sure that when the day comes and this whole rotten realm realizes we were right, there's still something here to save." He jabbed a finger at Jon. "You," he said, "you keep that sword sharp and your head sharper. If you die, try to do it where it will frighten them more than us." Jon blinked. "I'll try not to die at all, my lord," he said. "Ambitious," Jeor grunted. "Good." His gaze shifted to Daemon. "And you," he said, "no more surprises without warning. If you mean to fly your beast, tell me. If you mean to poke at old gods' horns and children's curses, tell me. If you mean to march my men into bargains with wildlings who sell their sons to snow, tell me." "I did tell you," Daemon said mildly. "You just didn't like what you heard." Jeor's eyes narrowed. "Do not make me regret keeping you," he said. Daemon smiled, thin and tired. "If you regret me, Lord Commander," he said, "it will be because I lived long enough for you to." The night was clear. No clouds veiled the stars. They spilled across the sky in countless pinpricks, more than any man could hope to name. The auroras were faint tonight, a green whisper on the horizon rather than a shout. Daemon stood with his hands braced on the parapet. Caraxes lay behind him, stretched out along the wall like some impossible gargoyle. The dragon's sides rose and fell in slow, deep breaths. Frost gathered and melted rhythmically around his nostrils. From this height, Castle Black looked fragile. Tiny torches marked doorways and paths. Men moved between them, small, dark figures, their cloaks like smudges against the snow. In the yard, Jon crossed from the hall to the steps with Ghost at his side, the direwolf's white form almost invisible save for the movement. "You feel it too," Daemon murmured to the dragon. "The pull, the pattern, the way the world circles back to the same edges with different faces." Caraxes rumbled softly. The sound thrummed through Daemon's bones, familiar as his own pulse. He thought of another wall long ago, not of ice, but of men and rage and certainty. He had stood on battlements watching dragons wheel, watching kin burn kin for crowns and pride. He had believed then, too, that he could shape the outcome, that his presence changed the board. Now he knew better. He was not the center of this. He was a lever, a weight, a piece that refused to leave the table. Below, Jon paused. He looked up, as if some sense had prickled at his neck. For a moment, their gazes met across the distance, old fire and new. Then Jon lifted a hand, a brief, almost shy gesture, and turned away. Daemon exhaled. "You'll hate me before this is done," he told the night. "For the choices I will force you toward, for the truths, for the deaths I will call necessary." The stars did not answer. He smiled very slightly. "But if you live," he went on, "if you stand where I did not, if you take what my house has been and make of it something less destructive, that will be worth your hatred." Caraxes shifted, his good eye blinking slowly. Daemon laid a hand on the dragon's scarred neck. "And you, old friend," he said softly, "one more dance. Not for my pride this time, not for some girl's crown, for a wall, for a boy, for a world that has grown very tired of our kind." The dragon hummed, low and content. Far to the north, where the ice spires rose and the altar pulsed faintly, a white walker lifted its head, sensing some distant echo of heat and defiance. The game had not started with Daemon Targaryen. It would not end with him, but as Chapter 8 closed, fire and ice stood where they must. On a wall of ancient stone and frozen water, on an island of black rock in a stormy sea, in a city of glass and gold far to the east. And between them, men and monsters alike began, at last, to understand that winter was no longer just a season. It was an enemy, and enemies could be fought,